Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast blood.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day, and we got a power couple for you in the house. Like, power couple to a whole nother level, right? So we got our local, my friends, first of all, and training partners from the Mat Factory family. What's up? We got Justin Patton and Karli Joe Thomas, power couple, rocking it together. Two local pro MMA fighters couple. Now, what happened first? Let's just start there. Did y'all turn into a couple first and then start fighting, or was you fighting first and then you became a couple? How did that all work out?
So we were fighting first, and then we pretty much met through training.
Okay.
So yeah.
Met through training first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where were you training at?
She was training at All-American.
Yeah, I was training down in Uniontown, Pennsylvania at All-American MMA Academy, and then I would just start cross-training up here with my old coach, Nick Brown, up in Pittsburgh at the Mat Factory, at the Academy at Stout, and that's how me and him ended up meeting.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was at the Academy, and she came up.
Okay, so that was the connection. There was a cross at the Academy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, beautiful. So we got, now, Karli, you're 6-3?
Yeah, amateur, yep.
Right, and then, so not pro yet.
My next fight's my pro debut.
Okay.
So we're getting there.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
excited.
All right, and so Justin, 8-4 and 1 no contest?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're winning more than we're losing.
Yeah.
Right, we're doubling the losses up. You know what I mean? Right now, we'll get to how do we handle the losses and all that. You know, how do you handle the wins and how do you handle the losses? But first, let's get to know you a little bit. Give me your background, ladies first. You know, where you from, and you know, how did all this transpire?
So I grew up in Smock, PA, which is a really, really little.
Where?
Smock, PA.
Smock. Okay.
Yeah, it's a real little town. Basically between between Pittsburgh and Morgantown. That's the best way to kind of explain it.
Okay.
Lived there till I was in 6th grade, and we moved to Smithfield, Pennsylvania, which is also another really small town. And then, graduated from Albert Gallatin High School, grew up riding horses, playing outside, hiking, gardening with my mom, stuff like that. And then I was about 10 years old when I started training in martial arts.
Okay.
So,
started at 10.
Started at 10.
I didn't know you rode horses.
Yeah,
my mom likes to ride horses.
I miss being home, seeing riding and stuff. But
we got a spot for you if you ever want to go ride. My mom, she got 4 horses.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So does my mom.
It's an all day. This is an all day obsession. From the time she wakes up to the time, it's all day. Those are her babies.
That's awesome.
You know. And so 10 years old you started. How did that start? What made you get started?
My mom actually just wanted me and my sister to kind of just learn how to defend ourselves, you know what I mean? So she's like, we're gonna go find a gym and teach you guys how to fight. And once I started, I just loved it. You know, I kind of caught on kind of fast, not real fast, but I felt like it was something I was gonna be good at. So that paired with it was unlike any other sport I played, because I played soccer and stuff, and that's obviously a legitimate team sport, you know, but fighting,
footwork.
I had the footwork, but fighting's a little bit different. So once I started training, and just it was an individual thing, so it was all on me to get better, and I really liked that part of it.
Now, what type of gym was it? Was it a specific art? Was it?
Nah, they did everything.
They did everything.
Yeah, it was I'd almost describe it as a dungeon. They just would go in and
I love the dungeons.
Yeah, I mean there wasn't even really classes. It was there was one coach, and he just kind of helped everybody out. He'd teach you how to punch. You guys do a little jiu-jitsu. It was just a little bit of everything. Every day was different. We sparred all the time, 3 days a week. I used to spar with she was 180-pound Italian woman. She's a really good boxer. I was my sparring partner when I was 15, 16 years old. So yeah, we just got after it all the time.
Love it. And so when did you start competing?
I competed in jiu-jitsu first.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't remember how old I was when I first competed, but I trained for probably
young.
Yeah.
You got brothers and sisters?
I got an older sister.
Okay.
Yeah, I got an older sister. But yeah, I did started doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. Loved doing that. Then I boxed for the first time when I was 14. I boxed three times. And then when I was 21 is when I made my MMA debut.
Nice. All right. And then how about you, Justin?
Well, I grew up in Plum. Started playing sports when I was young. I wrestled from when I was like 7 till I was 14. And then during high school, I started getting in trouble, you know, living the fast life, doing dumb things. And I was 19 years old working at Muscle Maker Grill. And I'm the manager there. And my neighbor's my boss. Carmel Worthy comes in looking for a sponsorship, right? And my boss is like, this kid thinks he's tough, da-da-da-da-da. I thought I was a little tough, you know, a tough kid. And Carmel invites me into the gym. He never in a million years thought I'd show up. And I showed up, and I just never left. After work every day, I'd go and train and just turn into fighting.
Beautiful.
You know? It's just crazy how stuff works.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And so how long ago was that? How many years ago was that?
That was 12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the academy.
Yeah, it was Fight Club at the time.
Oh, it was called
Fight Club
Pittsburgh Fight Club?
Yeah.
Or Fight Club Pittsburgh?
Fight Club Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
And that's
now,
whenever Cody Garbrandt was there, Mark Cherico, Justin Steve, Adam Milstead.
Bunch of stars.
All them killers. Yeah.
Bunch of stars.
All them killers. I just got beat up every day.
That's the way to grow.
Right?
And so now, Karli, you just got a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Right? Waynesburg?
Uh-huh.
Wrestling?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, women's wrestling.
How did that happen?
Okay, yeah. So well, I wrestled in junior high and high school, so a little bit of a background, and I did love wrestling, but I just like fighting more, honestly. That's why I took more of that route. But last year, well, let me think about this timeline. So 2023 to 2024, I coached at Kiski, and it was just kind of Isaac actually helped me get my job there.
Okay.
So I had coached a high school team there.
You were a head coach?
I was a head coach.
Head coach at Kiski.
Yeah.
Women's wrestling?
Girls wrestling. So it's a high school.
Girls
It's a
wrestling.
high school,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then while
my wife went to Kiski.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. And while I was there, his name's Josh Fowler. He owns Black Cat Martial Arts down in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Okay.
And he's known me since I was like young, you know. So whenever he found out that Waynesburg was hiring a women's coach, they were getting a women's wrestling team, he was talking with the vice president, because they're good friends, Adam Jack, and they kind of just were like, you know, do you know anybody that would be interested? And my name was thrown in there. They ended up reaching out to me and talking to me, and that's kind of how it came about. I was actually a little bit skeptical about it at first, just because I didn't have a background in college wrestling, and they do freestyle in college, and I've only done folk style wrestling, and I've only, you know, trained in jiu-jitsu, like grappling, like MMA grappling, stuff like that. So I knew it was going to be different with the technique and stuff like that, but
is this their first year?
yeah, this is their first year.
So we're building it ground up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And another thing is, like, I didn't have a college degree, so they wanted somebody with a college background. So I kind of was like, I don't even think I'm going to get that job. So I didn't even apply, and they kept calling me. So I eventually applied, and it all worked out. And yeah, we had a really, it was a fun first season. Lots of growing pains, but we had a great time. The team's super close, which was like, you know,
that's where it starts. That's where you start to win.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. Exactly.
The camaraderie.
Yeah, to
right?
build a strong foundation, you know. It's not always about winning at first. So.
Right. Amen. And it's, you know, you could hear the paths aligning. Like, you know, how you got started was the meeting with Kama, which, you know, was really just coming in for a sponsorship. This was like, it's random things that kind of, you got to just flow with the path of life and trust that, you know, that process. What would you say have been some of the sacrifices, you know, maybe that you guys have had to make to get to, you know, currently where you're at right now, you know, Justin?
Just missing things in your family, like missing family events, stuff like that. Training, you're training all the time. You don't have time for.
What do you mean family events?
Birthdays, you know, stuff like that. Family goes out, you're training, you can't go out. My brother actually, unfortunately, my brother had his kid, and I didn't even go see him in the hospital at the time because I was training at a fight coming up, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
That's tough,
Yeah.
right? Those are the things that people miss.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand
Until later. You look back
the
at it and you're like,
sacrifices, you know, that it requires to win. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, that stuff sounds extreme, right?
Yeah.
Missing your family's birthdays, and, you know, people only live once and have babies one time, and you're an uncle, and, you know, and that's your brother. And, you know, to most people, they would look at that and they say, man, that's bad. That ain't right. But to winners, people that are winning at a high level, people that have won at a high level, most of the time you're going to get a head nod of like, that's the stuff that it takes. That's the painful stuff that it takes. That's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes those are the little
sacrifices
that you got to make along the way. And I'm sure when you make some of those sacrifices, and you know, I cut you off mid first couple sacrifices. There's more, right?
There's plenty more.
When you make those sacrifices, you probably get some flack, you know, from people over time, you know, be it friends or people that don't understand. Have you had any of that?
Sometimes, like when I'm in fight camp, I don't go out. I don't do none of that. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do none of that. And sometimes your friends will you know, ask you to go out and stuff, and you're no fun, da da da. But the ones that understand are your true people. Like they
talk
get
about
it.
not drinking and smoking, right? Now, there was a period, I think, in your career that maybe, I don't know if it was always that way, or did you have a like, this click, I'm locking in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Was there a turning point where it's like, I'm locking all the way in now?
Yeah, I had a title fight in Ohio, and I actually failed my drug test for weed. In Ohio, they're super strict and they won't let you fight. So I was still gonna fight. I just couldn't win the belt. It would have been a no contest if I would have won.
Okay.
So I go in to fight, and I go in to turn in my tickets, and my opponent walks out. And at that point, I was like, as soon as I signed my contract, as soon as anything, I even got a whiff of a fight coming up, I put it all down. Because, you know what I mean, what do you really want?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Amen. What other sacrifices can you think of? I'm coming to you next.
Well, I just injury-wise, dude, I ruptured my spleen. I lost my right testicle. I had my toe dislocate, my bone go through my foot, and I herniated my back. All within like a 3-year thing. And it was like...
And so you're coming out, right? You're taking time out, right? Because you got to heal.
Yeah.
You got to rehab.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah, it was
right?
terrible.
Getting knocked down, getting back up, getting knocked down, getting back up. That mirrors life, right?
100%.
Injuries, you know, it may not be physical injuries when you get outside of, you know, when there's a day comes and you retire, you know, from the sport, but then life happens and you get injured in life. It may not be your knee, it may not be your spleen, but it's going to feel like you got kicked in the testicles. You know what I'm saying?
Right, 100%.
And you're down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, what was the mental coming back from each one of those injuries?
I just took it as a test. You know what I mean? It's a test how bad do you want it. You know what I mean? So it's like...
Did you ever think about giving up? This is maybe the same for me,
The
you know?
only time... None of the injuries, honestly. The only time I ever thought about quitting fighting was when my brother passed away. I just didn't know if I had like the fight in me anymore, if I still wanted to go do it.
Yep.
But then it just changed what I was fighting for.
How'd your brother pass? You mind if I ask?
Yeah, no, that's all right. He got in a motorcycle accident September 28th, 2019.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Is that your brother with
my nephew, yeah.
With your nephew?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And so can you give us some of your sacrifices, Karli?
I would say like a lot of the same similars that he said, just missing family events, things like that. But for me, like my childhood, because when I was like 12 years old, I started really taking training seriously. Like once I was like started competing and stuff like that, I really started to take it seriously. So I train, you know, I go to school all day, get home from school, eat, go to the gym, train till 9 o'clock at night, come home, go to bed, get up, do it again. On the weekends, I'd train on either Saturday or Sunday at some point. So I was training like 6 days a week as a teenager. And, you know, I was always like, I was pretty disciplined as a kid. Like I was eating healthy, drinking water. I carried a gallon of water with me around school. I thought I was insane. So that was like one of the biggest things for me. It's just
Where'd you get that discipline? You know, that's discipline. That's extreme discipline.
Honestly,
at a young age. Do you think it's just something like, man, I was born with this? You know, it's just like something I got anointed with that I'm just, this is just what I was born with? Or do you look at your come up as a kid and say, you know, maybe it was because I saw this, or maybe it was because of my mother, or maybe it was because, like, where do you get that grind?
I think it's kind of instilled in me from a young age. Like my mom and dad's always like, even as kids, like we did chores, like we didn't get stuff for free, like, you know, we worked hard as kids. We helped out around the house and stuff like that all the time. So I think just like kind of having that like upbringing, you know, seeing my parents work hard all the time, you know, go through struggles and like keep showing up for us every single day no matter what. But also like the people in the gym that I was surrounded by, like I just seen what they were doing. You know, I was paying attention to Nick Brown. You know, he was super successful at the time. He was like one of my biggest mentors in my upcoming. Ethan Hayes, Josh Frem, those guys, like just watch what they did, you know, and just how to emulate them, really.
What you talked about your parents, what maybe you would you say you pulled, looking back on it now, the most from your parents? You know, if somebody looking at you say, oh, she got that from her mom, or she got that from her dad.
That's a good question. I always tell everybody I feel like I'm like the perfect blend of my mom and my dad. My dad's very like stoic, you know?
Stoic.
Yeah.
Super nice dude.
Great qualities.
Yeah. Yes, he's a very hard worker too. My dad even went through his own struggles in his life, and like, you know, if it wasn't for my mom being honest with us, we probably would have never even known, because he just, no matter what, showed up for us. So just I think going through that and just seeing that, like, always, like, you know, putting one foot in front of the other and just like staying on the grind and like trying to be a better person and stuff really helped. Like, I think it's just showing me that it's kind of what instilled that in me in a young age. And like, you know, my mom, like, you know, wanted us to train, like, go to the gym and get better and train and stuff. And there was definitely days where I was like, man, I don't know if I want to go today. And there was definitely times she'd be like, I think, you know, we need to go, and like push, like, you know, push me a little bit. So
where did that come from in her, I wonder? Was she an athlete? Did she do martial arts?
No.
You know, I wonder where does that come from?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess it's just generations. Like my grandma would, you know, say the same thing. My grandma's very, she loves God, and she's very religious. And that was a big thing with my mom's life growing up. So maybe that's where she gets it from. Just
you
like,
had
you
the
know,
spirit.
Yeah, the spirit.
That's awesome.
And the passion, and you know,
it's huge.
Yeah.
Justin, coming back to your brother, you know, 2019. How did you overcome that? How did you get out of that, you know, mental, you know, where you thought about quitting and giving up? I mean, I can't even imagine. I don't have a brother, you know, but I got friends that are close to me like a brother. But like, how did you get out of that? How did you overcome that?
God and my family, honestly. That's when I was always religious, but Dylan Weston actually got me like reading the Bible in our Bible study at the Mat Factory, and it got me through it. And then just being around my family, I moved back home. I was living.
Dylan brought me to the Mat Factory.
Really?
And I brought him back to the Mat Factory.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's crazy how things work.
That's
right?
my dog right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Dylan. But I was living in Robinson at the time. I moved back home to live with my family, and just being close to them, being close to God, got me through it.
You would think, you know, a lot of people that have that type of situation happen, they do the opposite. You know,
Yeah.
they're more like,
Yeah.
me and God ain't really cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After that, how does this happen? You know what I'm saying? To a good person, how do you do that? And my response when that happens is I get it. I understand how you could feel that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I ain't God. I don't got all the answers. I'm not going to try to, you know, get in between that. That's between you and the Lord. You know what I mean?
100%.
But a lot of people turn the opposite direction.
Yeah.
What do you think made you turn towards God versus away from God? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of people go the opposite direction with that.
Don't get me wrong. I started to do things that weren't too good, but I think just being around the right people, honestly. And my mom is all
Being
about,
around the right people.
Yeah.
So that's huge,
Yeah.
right? The people that you choose to spend time with during dark moments, who you gravitate towards can
Yeah, you hang out with the wrong
impact you.
people, you're doing the wrong things, you know. But my mom was all God's plan. This is all God's plan. God just wanted him sooner. You know what I mean? It was his time. When it's your time, it's your time.
Right.
There's no changing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just his time to go be in paradise, you know?
Coaches, mentors, parents, could you name some people that have impacted you and kind of what you've grabbed out of them?
Oh, dude, the list is so long.
Keep it short. 5 or less.
So we'll go. Kama Worthy obviously got me in the gym. Got me started. Kind of made me realize how deep the bucket is with professionals. Like people in Pittsburgh think we're like we got to raise the level. You know what I mean? The buckets, the ocean's deep. You know. Mark Cherico too. He actually was one of my first MMA coaches. Taught me the game. You know, taught me a lot. I still use a lot of stuff he teaches. Chris Williams, for real, because Chris is one of the most honest coaches you ever meet, and he met me at the at Fight Club when I didn't know anything about striking, and he stuck with me we're working on 10 years now, I think.
Oh, that's great.
So it's
Love
just
Chris.
the bond we have is and he's one of the most honest, and he'll go out and fight for you. Like if someone says something wrong, he'll fight for you. Like he's Isaac, obviously. Isaac is a different like.
What do you think? What have you pulled from Chris other than striking?
Be honest, be real. You know,
Being honest and real.
yeah. Chris is one of the most real people you ever meet. If he has a problem or there's something going on, we're gonna hash it out right now. We're gonna talk about it.
I love it.
So
How about Isaac?
just be a good human being. You know what I mean? Like be selfless. Give to people. You know what I mean? Give more than you take. Because Isaac would drop of a dime do anything for anyone. You know.
How long you been at the Mat Factory?
Like
I know you were coming some, but then like it went to like some to like all the time.
Yeah, it's been
Almost 3 years, probably.
yeah, 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I've had an opportunity to just witness your growth, not just physically. I mean, your grappling and wrestling has went way up.
I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it.
Way up. I've physically felt that. You know what I mean? Myself, how much better that you've got. And then I've watched you grow as a man the most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As
100%.
much as I've watched your level grow, I've just watched your levels grow even more as a person and as a man. You could feel it. I could just feel it from you, different than when you always were a good person.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just feel a whole different man with you over those couple of years, man. So super, super proud of you, man.
Yeah.
And then we just keep paying that forward and keep saying, who else can we impact now with the gift that was given to us?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the keys to the gym. You know, it's like just that whole ecosystem, that economy of just like everybody loving on one another, everybody looking out for that family. You know, it's that individual sport, but it's really, there's a lot of team that goes behind it. You know what I'm saying? To make that work. What things, any things you want to point out that you've grabbed from certain coaches or mentors?
I would just like always come back to Nick Brown, because he was like
NyQuil,
yeah. He was such a positive in my life, like my career, like as a kid. I had some
how so?
I had some bad stuff happen to me from my first coach, and just having him as a person to like look up to and talk to, and like he had no idea what was happening, but he was just always a good person, and I could feel that, you know, and he always did the right thing, and it was never about him. So he's he's somebody that I aspire to be like, because I guess he just truly impacted me, and I seen how selfless he is, and you know, I that's kind of like my goal with this, like competing and stuff. I don't ever want it to make me a selfish person. So that's been the biggest thing I've taken away from him, for sure.
How long have you guys now been together? How long has this been a thing?
4 years on Monday.
4 years on
Cinco,
Monday.
Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo is our anniversary.
Wow.
I made it that way so I can remember it.
Ah,
Right.
smart.
Right.
Smart. No, I like it. That's awesome.
We didn't really have like a date or anything. We're like, well, when can we like Cinco de Mayo? It's perfect.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, right?
I like it.
But you can't forget
4
that.
years. In the grand scheme, sometimes it don't seem long, but I mean, you think 4 years, that's like going to high school and you graduated high school, or going to college 4 years later, like you're out. That's a long time, you know, together. You think it helps you that you got somebody, you know, that's on the same kind of trajectory as you?
Oh yeah.
In the game?
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll get done training and we'll talk about it on the ride home, how to go, would you have problems with this and that. And even when we're cutting weight, like, don't get me wrong, we'll get in fights. You know what I mean? We'll argue, yell at each other. And
fist fights?
No.
Like, let's put the gloves on.
only in the gym. But we'll argue and stuff.
Is that where you got the shiner from?
No. But we'll argue and stuff, and we take a second and reflect on it and realize that we're both just hangry, or we're both going through stuff, and we always come back. You know what I mean?
Yep. Everybody has those.
Oh yeah.
Things. You know what I'm saying? And people that act like they don't, they do. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I appreciate that Chris Williams coming out. That real. Let's be real. Let's keep it 100. But I would imagine that if you don't have somebody that's in the same game as you, that it's difficult to get the support sometimes that it requires. Because it's a journey. It's thankless. It's a lot of freaking time that you got to invest. It's a lot of sacrifice. Birthdays. I can't go to my own family's birthday. Now I got somebody else's family's birthday, and I'm looked at like I'm bad because I can't go to your mom's birthday. I didn't go to my own family's birthday. You know what I mean? So it's like she understands. You know what I mean? You understand, and that's tough to understand. And then the journey of I've had an opportunity to be around the game long enough where I've watched people grow through MMA, and I remember where they had no car to, making plenty of money. You know what I mean? And watching that transpires, you got to go from over all this work, overworked and underpaid, to where there comes a point where it's like, man, I'm overpaid for what I love to do. Like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? That and that journey, could be probably tough for people if they don't understand the game and the flow, together. How would you say it's been beneficial to have somebody in the same game as you that you date?
Just having somebody to honestly that just gets it, because you don't understand it unless you do it and you're a part of it, and you compete and you take training very seriously, dieting all the time. Like, even last night, we went to get dinner and I was like, can we go get I can eat sushi. I'm like, can we go get you get whatever you want. I'm gonna get something I know I can eat, but still figuring out ways to Can you
do the rice with the sushi? Yeah. And all that?
Yeah.
As long as you're not cutting?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I know people always think cut carbs and make weight, but I actually eat more carbs probably in camp than I do outside of camp, just because I don't know why. That's what he tells me to do. I listen, and it works. It works. I don't know the science, but it works.
Who's he?
Kyle Markle, Milo Nutrition. He's a wizard.
Yeah, he's real good.
He's
really
so good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where's that at, Milo Nutrition?
He's actually in Morgantown, out of Morgantown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And looking back, you guys both got over a decade now plus, right? So what do you wish that you look back and say, I wish I knew then what I know now? What would maybe a thing or two of that be?
Don't rush it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it too. When I first started,
what do you mean don't rush it?
Don't take a fight before you're ready. You know what I mean? Obviously, you got to have your first fight to get wet. That's why I tell everyone, your first fight's just like you're swimming. You're just jumping in the water, see if you can swim. You know what I mean? You might not win it, but you're just seeing if you like it and you can swim. Because there's plenty of people that jump in, they drown. You know what I mean? But don't rush it. Don't take bad fights. You don't have to, you know what I mean? If you're injured, take your time and heal. I kept trying to rush through my injuries. That's a big one. Rush through my injuries and just get injured again. Then you're on the shelf for a set amount of time, And make sure you have good coaches around you. You got to have good coaches that steer you in the right direction.
Great advice. Great wisdom. I think that's one a lot of people miss, is that letting yourself heal from injuries, not rushing, not taking that fight because you're not even close to 100%, but you feel like, man, I got to get this one in because, how hard is it sometimes to get a fight? You know what I'm saying? And then, especially as an amateur, you're coming up and it's it's normal for people to pull out the fight. You went through this whole camp, you know what I mean? So now I finally got one. I got to take it. You know what I mean? And that's wisdom right there. I've watched that be done the right and wrong way and have heard this, multiple times. So I think that's great advice. Anything on your end?
Is just be consistent. And not like getting too high off the wins and too low off the losses. You know, just staying right in the middle. I always like call it like ride the wave. You know, like
ride the wave.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
Kind of my like yeah.
I love that.
I've been there where like I went like my first few fights, I was like my heart's going a million miles an hour. It's like one of the greatest feelings in the world. And then like next one you lose, and it was like it wasn't my first loss. It was my second loss that really like hurt me. And my mom had to actually like reality check me. She's like, if you want to do this, you need to figure out a better way to handle your losses. And I was like, man, he really hit me with some truth there. And that honestly changed a lot for me. Like I lost not my last fight, but my fight before that, I lost it, and it like almost like didn't even faze me.
Wow,
I was just like,
that's
whatever,
growth.
You know, so yeah, just like ride the wave, be consistent.
So we got to stay here for a minute.
Okay,
we got to muddle in this because this is life, right here, right, and it's not getting too high and not getting too low and staying even keel. That you'll watch people in life do that. You know what I mean? They have a loss, they have a setback in life, and it's like, man, it's over. And then they'll have a win, and they're all excited, and that's dangerous, to be in. Sooner or later, if you don't learn how to ride the wave, I like to ride the wave. Then you're gonna cause yourself a lot of stress and anxiety, and eventually get yourself out of whatever your game is. You're gonna get yourself out of that game because you got to go through losses. You're gonna have nobody wants the losses. We'd all rather learn from our wins, than our losses. Mm-hmm. But those losses is where a lot of the wins happen. That's where a lot of the growth is at. You know what I mean? And so that's part of that wave. That's part of that process. You said, your second loss hit you super hard. Mm-hmm. Third loss, you handled it better, right? Mm-hmm. What happened? What advice could you give to some, young man or young woman out there listening right now that would apply to life, that they could say, all right, I got this, try to explain that growth?
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, it was like, I had to remember why I do this. And like, it's not to win or to lose. It's because I love it.
Going back to the why.
Yeah.
Going back to your purpose. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, why am
Not just for a short-term win.
Yep.
For a couple, ride that high for a couple months, right? That win, a lot of pats on the back. You know what I mean?
It's not about that.
It's not about that. It's about the long term. What's the purpose? Why am I doing this?
Yep.
Okay.
It's always about that, and just like, I mean, like what I said, my mom reality checked me, and not that she's not supportive, she's extremely supportive of me, but it's not her favorite thing in the world that I choose to do with my life.
It's got to be hard as a parent.
It is hard for her.
How about your dad?
I think he's
stoic. He ain't gonna let us know one way or the other.
He don't really know. He don't really let us know one way or the other. I think part of him is like probably would like me to do something else, but he also knows I love it, and he can see like my passion for it. And he understands my purpose. I want to be able to tell my story and help people and stuff. So just always remembering that it's not your lows to lows are like there's only one way to go is up. So
what was you said your mom, what was that conversation or or whatever that
with
you think
with the loss?
Yeah,
we were honestly like, I was just talking to her after that fight I lost. I was 3 years ago now, maybe. I was just talking to her, and I was super upset about it, like crying and like just like not okay. And she's like, you're acting crazy right now. She's like, you really, like, seriously, like, if you're gonna do this, this is not the way you need to handle. Like, you cannot handle it like this. It's not good for you. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for people around you. So she's like, you need to kind of just reevaluate.
It's hard when you give everything.
Yeah.
When you go all in.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing, from you is being able to go all in on something, and then just letting it go and understanding that it's just about the purpose and about the mission. It ain't about the immediate win or loss. It's about the bigger picture. Accepting that bigger picture versus the immediate gratification of a win or or whatever it is.
And just realizing like sometimes your best isn't good enough. That's just the reality, Like I trained super hard for that fight, and I got choked out in a minute and a half, and I'm like, that is not who I am, but that's just what it was at the time, and it's just we have to be okay with that.
That was, one of the things I was going to pull out is like the amount of hours, the amount of time that goes into training in a camp and out of camp for 2 minutes or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. That process is so much more than that game.
Oh, yeah.
The fight, the whatever. Plug in your fill in your blank for whatever, the listener, whatever is your game, whatever is your fight, whatever is your thing, that show, that one 15-minute segment, that potentially 2-minute, segment, how many hours, how many minutes go into making something like that happen. Mm-hmm. And then imagine, the thing about fighting is it's like we can't just get that right back that next day.
I know.
You know what I mean? Or the next 2 weeks later. Like this is now 3 months out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? This is potentially, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months out that I got to go back to work and make all those sacrifices all over and again without 100% guarantee that it's going to be paid back to me in what I gave, because it's, life is unfair. It's unfair. You know what I mean? If it was measured in what you gave, sometimes your best isn't good enough, right? So if it was measured in what you sacrificed and what you gave, you may feel, I deserve that. I get, what else do you want me to give? I gave everything, and then to mentally recover, from that, it just sounds like you went to a place of just accepting that I'm going to give it my best and let the chips fall where they may. Either way, I'm just going to keep grinding in the process and doing what I love. What would you say would be your mental tips to overcoming the losses and adversity?
I just lost, right?
Yep.
And everyone keeps messaging me.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you're here off a loss.
Yeah.
I don't want to just have you on here after a bunch of wins. You my homie that. Off of, I hope there's no more losses, that, but off of 3 losses, I'm glad you over here. You know what I'm saying?
That, brother, yeah.
I'm happy that you're here.
Everyone keeps texting me and stuff, asking me, you all right? You all good? Honestly, no physical damage at all. Like, I've had wins where I was limping around the house, and she was carrying me around because I was all hurt, banged up. And I tell people, if the worst thing that happens to me this year is I lose an MMA fight, I'm blessed.
Come on.
Look
at that, putting it in perspective.
Like, if that's the worst thing that happens to me, that's totally fine.
That's called perspective. Did you always have that perspective?
Oh, no. Not at all. No.
How do you think that evolved? Like, what created that ability, that maturity level to have that perspective?
I think just, like you said, growing up and having bad things happen to you. People only realize their level of pain, their level of suffering, what they went through. So you have to go through rough things in life to realize that some stuff is not even that bad,
Right?
Yeah.
Amen to that. What would you say training looks like for you in camp versus out of camp? If you explain it to somebody listening.
Well, in camp or out of camp, I normally train like every day. I maybe take Thursdays off. Thursdays like usually my off day.
One off day, train 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in camp.
How many hours?
Outside of camp?
Outside of camp.
Outside of camp, usually like 2-hour sessions at least. So at least 12.
Yep.
At least.
Yep.
Sometimes way more. Sometimes there's 2-a-days in there.
Yep.
So I'd say like 12 to 20 hours maybe.
Okay.
And then in camp, 2 sessions a day at least, 2 to 3 hours a session, sometimes 3 times a day. So that's a lot.
What do you do to recover?
I'll go sit in the massage chair at the factory. I'll get worked on a little bit by Derek at the factory.
Anything you notice helps you more with recovery now than maybe in the past? Like, man, I notice if I do this, it helps my recovery. I could give you one of mine, but I just want to hear yours.
Actually, Rocco, our strength coach, has us doing body tempering, which is that. You see that big metal roller at the factory?
Mm-mm.
It's like a big.
I've heard about it though.
Yeah, and you roll your muscles
people crying
out.
about it.
Yeah, dude, do it. You'll scream.
All right.
We did to Lucas, and Lucas
Do it
was
to me.
screaming.
Now that's who was telling me.
Yeah.
So, do it. I'm in.
Yeah, but dude, you do it,
You'll love
and
it.
it like hurts,
It's painful,
but it's like a good pain.
Yeah.
And you get up and you feel so loose, and so like body
So
tempering.
it sounds like a different level of foam roller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. 'Cause
Is that
foam
what it
rolling-
is?
That's what he described it as. Foam rolling, you have to like flex your muscles to do it. But body tempering, when you're rolling it out, you can just be relaxed and
Yeah.
roll out your muscles.
How? Do you need somebody else to do it?
Usually,
yeah.
You
yeah.
got to have
usually.
some. It sounds
Yeah.
like you would need somebody else
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
do it.
usually you have someone else.
Because
roll
like a
out.
foam roller, you could roll yourself around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get the best out of it if somebody does it for you.
Is it heavy?
Yeah,
Oh, it's real
like
heavy.
the one at the Mat Factory is I think 40 pounds.
Yeah.
But we usually use the one that Rocco has at his gym, and I think it's like 60 or 80 pounds.
Yeah. It's
I
heavy.
can't wait to get. I got to
Yeah.
get one of these things.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
I'm gonna try. I got to try it
Dude,
out.
it's sweet.
Yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah.
I'm 42. I got a new one we could work on every couple days. You know what I mean? Try this thing out. All right. So how about you?
I do a lot of this same thing he does, especially with the foam rolling and stuff like that, and just like making myself take a day off. You know, like I try to.
That's the hard part.
I try to take Thursdays off. I mean, we work with Chris in the morning on Thursdays, but it's usually pretty like technical. Excuse me. So yeah, just like taking time off, like taking that day off, like it's we need that.
How do you know when it's when to train through something in your experience versus like when to take a rest? Like you tweak something, you hurt something, and it's like, all right, do I train? Do I modify my training and still train? Do I train or do I sit this one out?
That's a hard one.
Yeah. It's,
Honestly, I'm still like I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of like training through stuff I probably
Plowing through it.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the best way to do that is to tell your coaches when you're having issues or injuries, and they
Let them decide.
Yeah,
Let
kinda
them tell you
decide,
because they've
yeah.
seen it. And,
Yeah.
okay.
And I feel like Isaac's really good at like kind of recognizing like when it's like, all right, you guys need to be done for the day. You know what I mean? So, just having coaches really who are like paying attention to you and how you're performing.
How about the mental preparation? Going into, a fight or even the preparation of leading up to it, camp. What do you do? What advice would you give to somebody for mental preparation?
we were talking about this before. I read my Bible a lot during fight camp. I read a lot not in fight camp, but a lot during fight camp, and it kind of just helps me know that God's with me and
Get closer to the Lord.
yeah, stay strong. That's during fight camp is the closest I've ever feel.
Awesome.
It's something different, but we don't do a lot of we don't do a lot of hype up stuff. A lot of if you come look at me in the back for my fight, I'm laying down, I'm chilling. I feel like if you need hyped up to do this, it might not be for you.
Mm-hmm.
You see people in the back yelling and screaming, trying to get all hyped up,
Blowing out all your energy.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
not. This is something I love to do.
Yeah.
Whether I go in there and get my face I guarantee you I'll be smiling. And it's I think it's just once you accept what can happen to you, you don't really need hyped up for it. Just go out there and handle your business.
What do you mean accept what can happen to you?
Yeah, I tell her all the time. Right before I fought Martin Justice and before this fight, I was like, I could go out there and this dude could just knock me out real quick. You gotta accept it. It is. I get knocked out right in front of my mom. Like that's my biggest fear is like, but you accept it. You gotta accept the wins. I could go out there and knock him out. You know what I mean? Or it could be another foot.
Get comfortable with accepting the potential. That's huge. Like, so I was listening to there's a old school motivational guy that I like. I mean, he's old. His name's Les Brown. You ever hear Les Brown?
I've heard the name.
Check
I
him
think.
out. So he's an OG. So one time he was talking about when he went through a really hard time in his life, like bad, low. He said, I felt like I could lose everything. I felt like I was going to lose it all, and it was giving me just anxiety, you know what I mean? And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breathe. And he's like, what I did is I heard this from somebody and I did it. He said, I went to the place where I was afraid of the most and I got comfortable there in accepting it and viewing myself, picturing myself, making it through that anyways and being okay anyway. So he's like, I stripped myself mentally of all the things I was afraid of losing, moving into I had nothing, you know what I mean, and all this stuff from here, and I just accepted it and got comfortable and got grateful with it anyway that I would survive. You know what I'm saying? And that helped him, and it sounds a little bit about what you're saying, just accepting the worst case scenario and understanding I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
I'll be okay anyways.
Yeah, I'll make it out, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Any special verses, any favorite verses you got?
Romans, always Romans. Romans 8 for me is big. I think it was Romans 5:3-5 was mine, about suffering and struggles, and recently for me, just because of my fight and it didn't go the way I wanted it.
Yep.
And stuff like that. But I read this fight camp, I was reading John over and over again, and I was reading Romans over and over again.
Just deep dive into the word for you, mental
you read
preparation.
It a bunch of different times, you'll catch different things, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So something might stick out to you now that didn't stick out to you before because you went through an experience in life.
100%.
You know? So
how about you, mental preparation?
I think, I mean, as of like for fighting and just like keeping your thoughts, I guess, calm, just being prepared, you know, physically preparing for it, you know, going through the uncomfortable stuff, putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations willingly, not like willingly, like going into this, you know, like, you know how Tuesday night wrestling practices are. You ain't ready for that. I mean, you got to be ready for it no matter what, you know? So just, like, doing that, like, doing stuff like that no matter what. Like, even if you ate like crap the day before and you feel like you woke up and you feel like crap, and you know when you go into that practice, it's going to suck. Yeah. You just got to do it. So just, like, doing all that hard stuff and just, like, man, I get through it every time. Like, it's not, another day is nothing new, you know? So.
Right. Talked about eating, you know, like crap. You know, what would... normal day, normal week, not in camp.
Not in camp.
What does that diet typically look like? You just letting it rip, or you got specific things you follow?
Like after like the week after my fight,
you got to smash out a little bit.
I like to. Yeah,
you got to smash out a little bit.
I've been eating like
crazy.
Yeah, you got to crush out.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
call it
eating
fat
like
week.
crazy.
Yeah. So
I told Dalton, I went to Dalton's, and I'm like, dude, every time you fight and win, and we have the after meal, it's like I won. I'm eating like I didn't deserve it. I didn't do none of the work for this.
Yeah.
I'm eating like it's Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? I'm putting on 5. So I get it. I did the same thing training and, you know, for grappling and tournaments and cutting weight and all that. Is like perm nose, you know, I mean, we let it rip after. You know what I mean? For a little, I'm starving. You know, so I get it. But I mean, outside of that.
Yeah, but like outside of that, like honestly, it's a lot of the same food and stuff, just more, you know, like, and like I don't, if I'm hungry.
Like what's the same food?
Like chicken, rice, oats, eggs, Ezekiel bread, some vegetables. I don't really like vegetables.
Yep.
Sweet potatoes, beef.
So protein, and what type of carbs?
I eat a lot of rice and a lot of oats, sometimes potatoes.
Rice, oats, some sweet potatoes.
Yeah, honestly, that's pretty much it. Honey.
Okay.
Honey, bananas.
Ain't that too? Does the honey need to be timed? You know, like pre-training or after training, because there's a spike of possibly insulin.
I do honey before training. Usually, okay. Yeah, I'll do it like I'll do like oats.
You do any caffeine?
Oh yeah.
Any pre-workout?
Most of the time something. Sometimes not.
Okay.
You know, I try not to rely on that like all the time, every single time. You know, like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends. Like I drink one cup. I mean, I guess I drink coffee every morning, but like I drank a cup of coffee, and like that was all I needed to go and try. I trained for 2 hours this morning.
Yep.
Lifted this morning, so like I don't take any pre-workout for like lifting and stuff like that.
I'm
very like.
How much are you lifting, strength training, and stuff like that?
3 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it makes you too, you know, muscular as far as like you don't have the endurance to flow or pull and strain and stuff, or is there a way you overcome that?
So, actually no, I was really skeptical about starting to lift again at first because I was worried about that. But the way we lift is like, I don't know, it's not.
We do like a warm up at the beginning.
It's he calls it a speed warm up.
Yeah, but it's all driving off your feet, moving the right way, and mobility stuff, like where you're moving around at first. Yeah. And then we'll lift for like 45 minutes, an hour, after that. So I feel like the moving around helps. So you're not just
you don't feel yourself getting too tight to where your flexibility is okay and all that still?
I feel way better, yeah.
I feel looser, I feel stronger, I feel more mobile.
What typical lifts?
Oh, what did we do today? We did barbell, power cleans today. So just like from the floor up.
Yep.
I did chin-ups. I did landmine, so like standing like a split squat position and just pump the weight. Yeah, and I did split goblet squats. Yep. He has his machine. He calls it it's called an ohm.
All compound movements. So it's not like
you're not sitting there.
You're not doing chest press, bench press.
I do sometimes.
Once in a while. Sometimes. Curls.
We don't do like arm curls.
No curls.
Nah. He was Rocco's been having me do more stuff for my
tricep extensions.
Not extensions, like not like overheads or like push downs, but what's he call them? He calls them dumbbell rollbacks, and he's been having me do them a lot because I'm determined to get my bench press up more.
Okay.
Because it's not very good.
All right.
And I
got you.
I've always
you just want to do it.
Yeah, I just want to be able to bench 135. That's
I got you.
And I can't.
Put the big wheels on. Yeah. I got you.
Yes.
All right.
So but for overall,
what's your goal for getting to 135?
Why?
No, what? Like date? You got a date? You got a deadline?
Nah, I don't care. I just want to get there.
When? This year?
Whenever. Yeah, this year would be cool. You know, I don't know. I didn't really put a timeline on it. But that's just like, maybe that's not good because maybe once I get there, I won't care no more. But
right.
But yeah.
So what would you say? Have you had any? You know, the more success that you have, the more haters you're gonna have, the more trolls you're gonna have. If you put yourself out there, you know, you're gonna have trolls, you're gonna have haters and stuff like that. Have you had any of that yet or no?
Not really. I feel like certain people you can tell. You know what I mean? They'll act real nice to you.
Not rooting for you.
Yeah. But nothing to my face.
Okay.
You know.
Social media. You post your stuff up and all that stuff about your fight and all that. You don't get no trolls yet?
No, not yet.
All right.
No,
I hope you don't never get none. But the more you go, the higher you go, you're going to get you a couple. You're going to get you a few of those. Yeah. So what do you think for you guys, you know, common traits that you see in winners, you know, in people that are great? You know, it's like, all right, you were talking about a nutritionist, you're talking about a strength trainer, you're talking about your coaches, you got a boxing coach, you got an MMA coach, you got grappling coaches, you know, but just overall, you know, if you're looking at people that are great at their field, people that are great at what they do, what would you say are some of the common traits that you've seen and witnessed that stick out?
Two that I really think is, no matter what, they don't make excuses. They do the work.
No excuses.
And then
got to do the work, just no excuses.
Yeah, no matter what. You don't feel like it, go do it. You know what I mean? You're a little injured, go do something else. You do the work. And then fundamentals. Everyone, like, if you look at these UFC champs or anyone that's really good at anything, Kobe Bryant, you go in there and do the fundamentals they do at the beginning of basketball. You know what I mean? But the fundamentals. And you look at these UFC champs, they'll have their reigns, but then they switch up. They don't. You're supposed to leave the dance with the girl that brought you there, right? You don't go to the dance and then change and then try to find something else. You know what I mean? So all the ones that stay with the same fundamentals had good reigns, but they go there, they reach the top, they start switching up, doing something else. And they end up losing their belt, you know what I mean?
Switching their style up too much.
Yeah, or trying to do something too fancy or too fundamentals.
Staying with the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about you? Traits of the greats.
Consistency. Just consistency over time.
Consistency.
I don't think there's really anything that can beat that. There's people that are not have zero talent, that they show up every day and work hard and they're great, you know? So I think just being consistent.
Not a lot of talent. Tons of people out there that are great, just being consistent. One of my favorite quotes that I try to share with the people in our business, that they could probably finish my sentence as soon as I start a couple words. That's how much the test of greatness, and they can finish it. The test of greatness and the hallmark of excellence is consistency. Being able to be consistent.
Yeah.
And it's tough to be consistent. Because when you're consistent and you're showing up, you're not getting an award every day for that. You're not getting immediate gratification. That's why you got to embrace the journey and embrace the process. What's next? What's next for you guys? What's on the radar? What's the plan?
Oh, I got my pro debut May 24th.
May 24th.
So come up here
Okay.
in like 3.5 weeks.
Let's go.
3 weeks, really.
All right.
Tomorrow.
All right.
So psyched for that.
Where at?
Atlantic City at the Hard Rock Casino
Okay.
for CFFC. So we're going to be on UFC Fight Pass.
Let's go.
Yeah.
UFC Fight Pass.
UFC Fight Pass.
May 24th.
May 24th.
Ladies and gentlemen,
CFFC.
if you want some entertainment, May 24th, UFC Fight Pass. They can watch it.
Yep.
Okay.
So as of right now, it's all the fights are going to be streamed on Fight Pass.
Okay.
So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Locked in.
Yep. That's what's next for me.
What's next?
MMA wise.
Another fight. For whoever, whenever. You know what I mean? Nothing scheduled, but
Back to work.
Yeah, Chris and Isaac tell me I'm fighting. We'll fight.
Back to work.
Yep.
Ready to go. You know, I know how much both of those guys. You know, I got an opportunity to hang with both of those guys on a decently consistent, basis. And I know how much they're proud of you and how much that they believe in you, both of them. And even Chris, is just super excited about both of you guys, super proud of you, and the belief level, in both of you is off the charts and deservingly so, for you guys. So couldn't happen to a better couple, lot of love for you, a lot of respect for you. Appreciate you guys for taking time out of your day, you could have done anything else, and driving out here, all the hours that it takes to do something like this, to add value to other people on the other end of this. You never know whose life is going to be impacted by that. How would somebody be able to follow your journey or something if somebody's listening out there and they're not a follower of yours? Any social media stuff that you have?
Instagram, really. I don't have Twitter or anything.
Okay, just IG.
Yeah, just
okay.
Instagram.
Yep.
Just General Patton.
Just General Patton.
Yep.
All right, Just General Patton with 2 T's.
Yeah, 2
right?
T's.
Patton.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got you. And then Karli, we got at Karli _Joe _ MMA.
Karli.
Karli, not a Y. Karli _ Joe J-O.
Yes.
_ MMA.
Yep.
All right, so go out there and give those two a follow and root for them on their journey. Two great people, 2 hard workers, and people that you would want to see win. So we appreciate your time. We appreciate everybody out there listening. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.